Ethiopia's decision to construct its brand new $12.5 billion mega airport in Bishoftu instead of Addis Ababa has left many people wondering, why would such an important facility be taken 40 kilometers away from the capital city? Because on the surface, everything may seem simple and normal, but the real story holds much deeper and more compelling reasons. And if all the plans with Bishoftu go well, then the new airport will change the Africa's aviation sector forever. So in order to acknowledge why Bishoftu was chosen and not any other place in Addis Ababa, why Bishoftu was chosen and not Addis Ababa city, then you first need to understand the ever-growing limitations at the Bole International Airport in Addis Ababa. Now let us begin by looking at the hidden challenge at Addis Ababa. So the Ethiopia's current largest aviation facility, that is the Bole International Airport, is nearing its maximum design capacity. According to the available information, the Bole International Airport was initially designed for an 11 million passenger capacity per year, but this airport was later upgraded to handle about 25 million passengers annually. But even with the new upgraded capacity, there are two things that are still making it difficult for the Bole International Airport to meet all the Ethiopia's aviation demands. So number one, the Ethiopian Airlines has experienced a rapid growth in recent years. In addition to that, Ethiopia is located right between major global locations, for example, South America, Europe, and Asia. So that means that Ethiopia is currently experiencing a lot of traffic, which if you combine with the rapid growth of the airline, then you will realize that the Bole International Airport becomes almost useless. The other new problem with Addis Ababa is the lack of adequate room for expansion. There is lack of adequate room for current expansion and also for any future plans. But that is not enough. If you look at the facilities, all the facilities that the new airport is going to require, it is very difficult to find such a space in Addis Ababa, which is also rapidly growing at the moment. So some of the main facilities that the brand new Bishoftu International Airport is going to have include 5-star hotels, we are going to have a shopping mall, and apart from that, the new airport is going to have up to 4 parallel runways, which requires a lot of space that cannot be obtained in Addis Ababa or anywhere around it. But surprisingly, a lack of enough space for construction is not the only problem associated with Addis Ababa. There is another major problem that is not visible to many people, and that is the relatively high altitude. If you compare Addis Ababa and Bishoftu, Addis Ababa is at a relatively higher altitude, and a high altitude means thin air or air which has got low density, and air with low density results to limited thrust or the lift that is generated by the aircraft wings, and as a result of that, the jets will be struggling to take off. Apart from struggling to take off, it will also be very difficult to carry more load. Jets will not be able to take off with a lot of load in Addis Ababa as compared to Bishoftu. So the high altitude is also causing a lot of problems. So the moment you have got very low maximum takeoff weights, then the whole operation will start to become less economical to most airlines. Then here comes the biggest elephant in the room. So choosing Addis Ababa for the brand new airport would have made the project to be extremely expensive due to demolitions and compensations that would have been done within and around Addis Ababa city, especially during land acquisitions, because we can't lie to ourselves that you can just go to Addis Ababa and begin constructing a new airport. You are going to have to compensate a lot of people. You are going to have to demolish a lot of structures that have taken a lot of money. Some are private, others are going to be government properties. So to avoid that, the best thing that the government would have done, and I am glad that they eventually did, is to take the new international airport to Bishoftu, which has got adequate space. So now the most important question is, why was Bishoftu chosen? So the first thing to note is that there are several reasons that are making Bishoftu area to be more suitable for the brand new airport than Addis Ababa, and that is what I'm going to be discussing in the next few minutes. So some of the reasons for choosing Bishoftu are geographical, while others are technical, as we are about to explain. So the number one reason why Bishoftu was chosen is a relatively lower altitude, and low altitude has got some benefits, especially to the aircrafts. For example, low altitude results to air with high density, and the higher the density of air is, the higher the thrust that the jet engines can generate, and also the higher the lift that the wings can generate. So the moment you have a lot of lift and a lot of thrust, it means that the jets can take off with larger loads, and being able to take off with larger loads means that the airlines will find the operations to be more economical in Bishoftu than in Addis Ababa. In other words, they will spend less, which will enable them to make a lot of income. They will make a lot of profit because the jets will be able to take off with a lot of weight. Apart from high thrust and high lift, apart from enabling jets to generate high thrust and more lift, low altitude in Bishoftu has got another advantage. So because the aeroplanes will be able to generate more lift and more thrust, there will be no need for more elongated runways. The runways do not need to be very long, and the moment you are able to reduce the runway length, the project will be able to save a lot of money, which will add greatly to the feasibility of the whole airport construction. And the next possible reason why Bishoftu was chosen is something we have already talked about, and it is very, very interesting. That is the availability of adequate land for expansion. The planners can include anything that they want, that they believe will result into the proper functioning of the airport. I have mentioned 4 runways. I have talked about a shopping mall. I have talked about 5-star hotels. And let us not forget the storage facilities. So if we want to be able to put all this in a given airport and also end up with some space for future expansion, then the best place to do such a project is not in a city like Addis Ababa that is already crowded and currently expanding very fast, but to put it in Bishoftu instead. So in simple terms, we can say that Bishoftu is giving Addis Ababa and the Ethiopian government as a whole a chance to think and plan 50 years ahead. But despite all the good things we have mentioned about Bishoftu, there are also some challenges that I believe we should talk about. And to get the real picture, let us go back and find out the main goal of this particular project. What does Ethiopia want to achieve with the Bishoftu International Airport? So the main goal of the Ethiopian government with this particular airport is to become an international transit hub. Currently, the international transit hubs that are serving even the African continent are based in Dubai, Istanbul, in Turkey, and also in Doha, Qatar. So Ethiopia's goal is to become an international transit. But the problem is that there is already a very strong competition. So the question is, will Ethiopia be able to compete with Dubai, Qatar, or Istanbul? So that is a very, very big challenge, and it is one of the risks that we must talk about whenever we are discussing about Bishoftu International Airport. The other potential risk is the failure to deliver the project within the required time limits. So aviation projects, most aviation projects are always viable, economically viable within a given period. So if the project will take too long to be finished, then by the time it will be ready, it might find when things have already changed. So to avoid that, the Ethiopian government must ensure that the project remains within the set time limits. And that brings us to the end of this particular analysis. But before going away, I have got some very important questions for you. Number one, do you think that choosing Bishoftu was a good move? And can Ethiopia be able to compete with well-established hubs like Dubai, Doha, or Istanbul? Let me hear your thoughts in the comments below. And to know which of the East African countries is the most modern in 2026, you must click and watch the video that is currently showing on your screen. Bye for now and see you next time.